Hello, everybody. My name is Roy Nemmer of Mundo Albiceleste.com, and welcome to another video. And this time around, we are going to talk about Rodrigo de Paul's comments about the Argentina national team and how, in his opinion, this current national team is the best that the country has ever had. And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to do this a little bit differently. Normally I have some sort of script, some sort of numbers, some sort of data, statistics, whatever it may be. Not this time around. This time it's just unfiltered thoughts, and I want your thoughts. I want everybody's thoughts as well in the comments. So let's get into it. Rodrigo de Paul had an interview with TIC Sports in Argentina, and I'm just going to bring up the quote right here. And De Paul says, it's a long paragraph. He's talking about the team and the work that Scaloni's done. And then he ends up saying, he says, I think we ended up making, if you'll forgive me, the best national team our country has ever had. I'm not saying that out of ego, far from it. I think the national team had better players than the ones that make up this one. But as a team, we beat all the current champions. The last American champion, which were Brazil, the last European champion, Italy, and the last World Cup champions, which were France. And normally, when I hear something like that, when I hear a bold statement, I usually take a step back, think about it, get my thoughts together, and then either I agree or I partially agree or I don't agree. For whatever reason, this time around, when I heard De Paul's statements, automatically, I just thought, you know what? He's right. I agree with Rodrigo De Paul. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's take a step back. And then I said, no. Let's take a step back and let's talk about this on air. Let's do a video. And there's two separate ways. There's two different ways you could approach that kind of quote or that kind of statement, right? Saying that this is the best national team the country has ever produced that's a heavy saying, especially for a country that has such a rich history, right? The number of Copa Americas, the number of just intercontinental titles in general, World Cup titles, everything. And there's two different ways of looking at it. You could look at it strictly from a player standpoint, a technical ability, the better players, and then you could look at it in terms of trophies won, finals made, what they achieved, what they accomplished. And I agree with De Paul, right? De Paul said something. He said, we've had better players in the past, and that is completely true, I think, in my opinion, right? This team won the World Cup. They're up there. Their legacy is cemented, right? No one's arguing that. They are eternal, which is something that De Paul goes on to talk about. And for me, yes, there were better players. There were better teams, even better squads, right? 2006, a tremendous squad that could have easily gone on to win the tournament. 2002, on paper, the best squad in the world. They ended up getting eliminated in the group stages. 1994, a tremendous squad. A young Gabriel Batistuta, a Diego Maradona. That was a good team. And we know what happened there. So you could look at it from that point of view, right? And then you could also look at it in terms of, well, let's look at previous teams and what they've accomplished, okay? If we talk about, let's say, the team, Bilardo's teams, 86, they made the World Cup final and they won it. 4 years later, they made the final and came this close from repeating it and being double champions back to back. Making a World Cup final is difficult in and of itself. That team achieved it twice. Incredible. If you look at the teams from the early 90s, a team that won back-to-back Copa Americas, got to the World Cup in 94, solid team, one of the favorites. Maradona, we know what happened, and we all know what happened in that tournament. This team has accomplished so much. And if you compare player by player, yes, there have been better teams, right? Just for example, and I love everybody, every player on this national team, absolutely adore them, right? If you look at our right backs, Molina, Montiel, you could even throw in Foyth if you want to. If you compare them, let's say, for example, the team from 2002, let's say, someone like Zanetti, arguably one of the greatest right backs, not just of his generation, but of all time. An absolute legend. Would I pick Zanetti over a Molina or Montiel? On paper, yeah, most likely. But Zanetti never won the World Cup. These guys did. Zanetti never won a Copa America. These guys did. Right? So it all depends on your perspective and how you want to approach this debate. And by the way, let me know in the comments, how would you approach this debate? Would you look at it from a player point of view, or would you look at it from, well, you know what? Let's look at what they won, what they achieved. And let's do that. Argentina, for all the world-class coaches, for all the top players that they've had, stayed 28 years without winning a trophy. Made several finals, 28 years without a trophy. This team goes into the Maracanã against Brazil and wins it. So that already in and of itself is massive, right? I'm not saying that automatically by winning the Copa America, they became the greatest Argentine national team of all time. I'm not saying that, but it's a good start. It's a good base. So they defeated Brazil, and then they went on that undefeated streak, right? So this is a team that throughout the qualifiers went undefeated, won the Copa America against Brazil. And then the haters and the doubters said, well, they never faced a European team, or they haven't faced a European team yet. We get to the finalissima. Who do they play? They play the European champions, the reigning European champions in Wembley, in Europe, not in South America, in Wembley. What happens? Argentina play them off the pitch. It's not even close, right? It's, to use the old saying, it was men against boys. And then everyone said, well, this is a struggling Italian team. It's not the same Italian team that won the Euros a year prior. Okay, keep throwing the doubts. Let's keep going with the doubts, right? Let's play devil's advocate here, what everyone else was saying. Everyone kept saying, well, they have to win the World Cup. Okay. Well, number one, we know how difficult it is to win a World Cup. We know what goes into winning a World Cup. You need talent, you need luck, you need the stars to align, you need the individual players, you need a team, you need a proper coaching staff. A lot goes into it, right? At the end of the day, 32 teams play, one team ends up winning it. Sometimes in the past, it wasn't maybe even necessarily the best team that would go on to win it, but the team would win it. We get to the World Cup, Argentina's undefeated. People are saying they have to win this, they have to win this. And I'm not even talking about the Messi debate, right? I'm not even talking about that, just Argentina. Opening match, they lose to Saudi Arabia. And the doubters had a field day. Oh, this team couldn't cut it, cannot cut it suddenly at the World Cup. Too much pressure, this and that. And then that falls into a social media thing, which I want to get into in a little bit. But the pressure, the doubts, because these players are human beings. And yes, these players won a Copa America, these players won a Finalissima. But now you find yourself in a do-or-die situation against Mexico, where if you don't win, you are eliminated. They go on against Mexico, they beat them. They play against a European team in Poland, they get the win. Play against Australia, get the win. Play against the Netherlands, which was a very difficult and tricky and borderline, I'll even say dirty game, dirty match, all the antics that happened. Argentina win on penalties, but they win. You get to the semifinals against Croatia. They win 3-0. Dare I say, comfortably. Then we get to the final. And now this is where everyone's like, well, this is it. They have to win it. The amount of pressure this team was under. I'm not talking about Messi, this team in general. You're up 2-0. We know the story. You're up 2-0. 10, 11 minutes left. France scores twice in a span of, 90, 93 seconds. Morally, that's destructive. This team bounces back, shows character, shows heart, comes back. Martinez makes the save in the dying seconds. They go to penalties. Argentina win it. So Argentina, going back to DePaul's statement, won the Copa America, the Finalissima, and the World Cup, defeating technically, the three greatest in their respective continents or in their respective competitions. Right? You're only as good as the team you're up against. That's it. If you're up against France and you beat them, well, you're better than France. That's what that means. Right? So if we look at that, that's such an achievement. Such an achievement. And you compare it to maybe previous teams. Again, going back, that 98 team, Batistuta in his prime, a young up-and-coming Crespo, Diego Simeone, Varane, and Ortega, right? You get all of these players made it so far up until the quarterfinals. So close, but so far away from a semifinal match against, I can't remember who it was right now, right? So you get that in 2002, the heavy favorites eliminated in the group stages. So where does this team rank? In my opinion, I think it's there. I think this is the best national team in terms of accomplishments, in terms of achievements. In my opinion, it's the best. It's the best. People will look back again and will say that we've had better players. Yes, we have. We've had national teams with better players. But at the end of the day, and as much as I loved those players, and many of them I grew up watching and even idolizing, those players for different reasons, right? Coaching reasons, just being unlucky, we're not able to win it. We're not able to win it. Right? Maybe if Gabriel Batistuta's effort against the post, against the Dutch that hit the post in the quarterfinals, maybe if that goes in, Argentina goes on and wins that tournament. We don't know. We'll never know. But unfortunately, what we do know is that, the ball didn't go in. Maybe if in 2014 Argentina wins that final, they go on to win 2015 Copa America and the 2016 Copa America. Then you're talking about, okay, wait a minute, which was the better team? Because that was a stacked team on paper as well. This one, because of maybe the lack of big names, and I say that very carefully, but maybe because of the lack of the big names, when you compare it to previous generations, many are hesitant to say that this is the greatest team of all time, of the greatest Argentine team of all time, right? Some will even argue and say, well, Maradona was better than Messi, so automatically that can't happen. 86 was better. To each their own. To each their own. I'm just saying, if we look at it from what this team was able to accomplish, from the pressure that's been on them, going 28 years without a trophy, they were able to get that trophy, go on to be undefeated, to defeat Italy, to defeat France, reigning champions. That takes a lot. I mentioned social media earlier. This team got, the connection that they made with the fans, whether they're Argentine fans in Argentina, whether they're not even Argentine, but they're Argentine fans, like I know many of us are here, right? We've been supporting this team, whether you've been supporting them for a month, a year, years, decades, you're a fan. That connection that this team had or has, and that they created in the past 4 years, probably unmatched because of social media. And that's a double-edged sword. And I'll tell you why. Argentina undefeated, go up to the Copa America final against Brazil. All the fans showing a lot of love to the team. You got this, we're going to win it. But then you have a certain side maybe of the media that were like, oh, well, we just made a final and we're going to lose once more to Brazil. We get to the World Cup against Saudi Arabia. Oh, they just lost to Saudi Arabia. Oh, my goodness, this team will never win a World Cup. You have those media outlets out there. You have those haters out there. And that will, whether we like it or not, will ultimately ultimately start, circulate within the team. They'll hear it. You got to ignore the noise. So even that aspect of social media, it adds the pressure. And the bond that they created on the other side of that coin, the bond that they created with the fans. We've become so invested with this team because it's easy to, because of Instagram, because of Twitter, because of Facebook, because of social media. And maybe that clouds our judgment a little bit. I don't know. But what I do know is this. Lionel Scaloni has coached a team and has become the first coach to win the World Cup, win the Finalissima, or even at the time, the Artemio Franchi trophy back in the 90s, right? Because this tournament or this one match did exist previously. But Scaloni is the first coach to win the World Cup, win the Finalissima, and win the Copa America in succession. To do that in a span of, what are we talking about here? From 2021 to end of 2022. So we're talking in a year and a half. Scaloni changed the entire dynamic of this team. And that's massive. Especially for, and we're going to address the elephant in the room, right? Lionel Messi, but especially for a team that's had Messi since the 2006 World Cup, aside from Sabella, who was unlucky in the final, God rest his soul, no coach has been able to get the best out of Messi. Scaloni's gotten the best out of Messi, gotten the best out of his players, and as a result, won trophies. How many times have we heard, whether we've said it or whether we've heard others say it? Well, you know what? Argentina, yes, they played well at this tournament. Yeah, they came close. Yeah, they have good players. Yeah, this, yeah, that, but they didn't win the trophy. And at the end of the day, that's what counts. It's a trophy. Well, you know what? To all the haters out there, Argentina made 3 finals. They won the 3 trophies. So what's the argument that people are going to use? That's what I want to know. Let me know what everybody thinks. Let me know in the comments. Do you agree with me? Am I wrong? Am I right? Am I partially wrong? Am I partially right? What are your thoughts? Have we had better Argentine teams in the past? I personally think we have, but this is different. So let me know. And if so, if we've had better teams, in your opinion, for those that have maybe watched even longer than I have, or maybe as long as I have, or maybe even just became a recent fan, what team did you think, or what team do you think is the best team of all time? If it's not this one, whether it be on paper with the players or in terms of trophies won, because Argentina has a very, very rich history when it comes to the national team, even before Maradona, right? Even before Maradona. You're talking about Mario Kempes in 78, and even going way, way back now, right? 1930 World Cup and all that stuff. But let me know. Let me know. Leave a comment. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notifications button to be the first person notified as soon as a new video drops. Once more, my name is Roy Nemmer of Mundo Albiceleste.com, and thank you for watching.